The goal for this podcast is to better our understanding through conversation. Communication is one of the easiest, yet hardest things to do. Whether that's communication of feelings, thoughts, or opinions. But through communication, new perspectives begin to take place. Throughout the various topics and opinions discussed on this podcast, we hope that we can add value, understanding, and a few laughs to your day. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the show. Classics. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm with it, man. I'm with it, bro. Who was that?
It was Marvin Gaye, man.
Marvin Gaye.
Hey, the late great Marvin Gaye.
I ain't no huge Marvin Gaye fanatic. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, watch yourself there now.
I don't know what I was meant to say was I don't know his music that well.
Oh, okay.
But every time I hear it, it's always a classic, a banger.
Yeah, man.
So I like that, man. He was saying some powerful stuff in there.
Hey, the brother was immensely talented, man.
100%, bro.
Yeah.
How'd you come across that?
Well, first and foremost, man, I can't even remember how I was introduced to this particular track, which is called the Inner City Blues. Mm-hmm. But I do know that, my father, my mother, like all of them, man, that generation, man, look, they live by Marvin.
Yeah.
A lot of us was brought here by Marvin, But sadly in his situation, his father actually took him out, which is a case of, man, as many of us would call it, man, black on black crime, which, no crime is great, man, but it's especially, man, when you talking about a family feud that's escalated to the point in which, somebody's taken at the hands of their own family.
Right.
That's terrible, man.
Bro, double whammy.
Terrible. Yeah. You grieving 2 times pretty much.
Yeah, man. It's wild, bro.
Yeah. Man, I got to doing a lot of thinking about a lot of things, man. And I want to ask you one question, brother, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the elephant that's in the room. You got any idea what elephant I might be talking about, man?
What's that? Drop it on me.
This month. What's this
Black
month?
History Month, man.
Okay.
Black History Month.
All right. So with that being said, man, how do you feel about this month in particular?
Man, I feel like, honestly, I don't. I think it's great that it's a month that's being noticed and it's being acknowledged. I don't think you had a shirt on last week that said 1 month can't hold our history. Okay. And I think that's powerful because if we don't continue to bring it up, we don't continue to keep it relevant, then we'll forget about it. And I've been victim of that, like going through the month and forgetting it's Black History Month and not even thinking about it until somebody say something, whether it be in church or you bring it up or I hear about it in a conversation. So it's like you have to keep that relevant and present because if not, if you don't remember your history and remember where you came from and acknowledge that, it'll get lost along the whole process of life. Okay,
I got another question for you, man.
What's up?
This just off the top of the brain.
Yeah.
So how do you feel when certain people may say, well, why should they get a month to celebrate their history?
To be honest, it's just like, much of our history was lost and much of our history was erased. And it wasn't as upkept as some people's history. And I think that's why it's important because a lot of us don't know where we come from. A lot of our records and a lot of our heritage were taken away from us. And I think it's important for us to have something that's centered around finding that and revitalizing that.
And reestablishing.
Yeah, man.
So reestablishment. So
exactly. Exactly.
It's interesting, man. So I feel many ways, man, about Black History Month.
Yeah, what's your take on it?
So-called Black History Month. My thing, number one, is this here. I feel like number one, let's again back to the elephant in the room. When we talking about months, this is the shortest month in the year anyways. So, for the same person that say, why should they get a month? We're not even getting a whole month when you look at, all the other months, give or take leap year. Still, and yet it's still not. It's still
100%.
not. Yeah, it's still not 31 days. You know, but even if you exclude the month of February,
Yeah.
the moment that the ball drops in New York on the 1st of January, you wake up after celebrating. What really changes, man, when your skin looks how our skin looks? Like, to be honest with you, the holidays, at that point, if you wake up to see the very next day, which would be the 2nd of January, right? The holidays are officially behind you, so to speak. But now, what has really changed? What has really changed? Because you still have young kids out there that's going to do boneheaded things. Some decide, just they look at it, man, as being innocent. A lot of people, again, just being young and dumb, so to speak. But in the wrong place at the wrong time, then the next thing you know, they the next headline.
Yep.
It's like, it's interesting. Being so-called black, it's almost as though we're stated to be the same color that's used as ink for the next headline in the newspaper. And it's like, man, if you read all of the words that's on the newspaper, man, all of those words could be the body counts, man, of those that are falling, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, making a wrong decision, so to speak. That wasn't in a lot of senses. It's not deemed fair because of the color of their skin. I really don't like talking about this a lot of times, man, because really when you talk about it, it's like, sometimes you get choked up over it because that's your feelings on this.
Yeah.
You can't hide this. You can't run from this. It's not like you can put on a mask and you can just say, hey, well, I just won't put up with it tomorrow because I'll look different tomorrow. And then if I look different, I can blend in.
100%.
That'd be even more hurtful if you could, just to see if it's what you thought it was when you wore the color.
Yeah, just see the flip side.
Yeah, that right there, that might break you even more.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that.
So, man, my thing is this here, man. The term black, is it a color? Is it an action? Or is it a sentence? A pending sentence?
It depends on how you look at it. Like you mentioned, what really changes at the beginning of the year, right? And you look at certain people who look at the term black as dirty, something that, shouldn't be touched, or something that's tainted. You look at certain people that look at the word black as a word of empowerment, as a word of power. You know what I'm saying? You look at some people who take pride in that. So I think it's about, and we go back to history. I go back to history like, if you don't know your history, then you never could take power in what it is you are. You never could really tap into that.
But by that statement, right?
Yeah.
That means we already limited because a lot of us don't know our
100%.
history and won't know the full history.
Yeah.
You know what I find? I don't mean to cut you off, man.
Nah, go ahead.
One thing that I find is most interesting, right? And going back to the month, right? And you celebrate a month. For a lot of other people in the world, right? That may be of another nationality, another, so-called color, ethnicity, but whatever the label may be. Mm-hmm. It's like I've done this. I've asked people before, like, what's your heritage? And the interesting thing about it, first, it's like people will stop and give you a crazy look. Huh? Heritage? What do you mean? Then I get to asking, I'm like, okay, well, I switch it up. So what? Okay, tell me a little bit about your background. like, and so they some of them, they start off and they could tell me about, their parents and stuff like that. But others, and I've done this with multiple races, right?
Yeah.
What I find to be most intriguing, like, in a large part, than most of the Caucasians that I've asked, a lot of times they stop and they say, you know what, man, I don't know. And when I hear them say I don't know, for me, I'm amazed, right? I'm amazed because, not because they say that they don't know, but I'm amazed because when they say I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, that's a choice.
100%, bro.
You have a choice in the matter not to want to know. Or by you saying you don't know, that's just a choice. It was never important to you. For us, so many of us want to know, and we unable to know.
100%.
And it's just like, I look at that, and it's, to me, man, it's man, I bruh, like, I'm in awe. I'm stunned. I'm floored. And I'm like, so you mean, hold on, let me get this right. Both of your parents together, check. You know the race of your mother, your father. Your grandparents still alive, check. But you don't know. You've never once wanted to ask them, about where they may have come from, or their parents with it. I've never thought to ask.
See, like, I would say, bro, like, and I hear some people that may say, well, y'all have the opportunity to know. We talk about black people, like, y'all have the opportunity to know now with all this technology. But I think the point is, like, you have, and I'm guilty of it. You know what I'm saying? We don't go no deeper than surface level. Like, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, that's it.
No, but it starts surface level, bro. To be honest with you, to keep it a buck with you, me, I rather believe surface level. Why? Because, number one, surface level is, well, within the family. Like, for example, when you're able to track it back because your parents told you, because of course your parents know their parents. Mm-hmm. And then if your parents telling you about their parents, I'm gonna trust that all day.
Yeah, nah.
I'm gonna be real with you. What I don't really trust though is, I'm getting ready to go there. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. What I don't trust is a system, oftentimes, and it's been proven in history, even with the census. You can go back, and this, what I'm talking about, I'm not, this isn't hearsay. This is factual information. You can go back in the history of doing the census. They had census takers.
Yeah.
They would go around, and oftentimes what they would do is they would write down. They weren't going around and actually asking people of color, certain things. They would go out and they pretty much they had the power to pin. So what they would do is, our fate was in their hands. They told us who we were. That's why over the course of years, you stop and you look at it, and the interesting thing about it, it's like, out of all of the races that you have, with us, like, our name is always changing. It's a revolving door when it comes to names. We've went through a revolving door. Listen to what I'm saying. We've been through a revolving door of names. And to be honest with you, the next 20 years, who am I to say that it probably won't change again? We'll probably go from African American to something else. But you can go backward. From African American, you can go to Afro American. You can go to, black. You can go to, Negro. You can go, it's always changing. Mm-hmm. But we got to stop, and we need to wonder, like, why is it always changing?
Now, my bad, not to cut you off, but I was gonna say, like, with the history thing, like, you think we don't go surface level, we go to mom, dad, grandparents, and then it stops there, and then we could dig a little bit deeper, tap into resources or things like that. And then like you said, you run into the problem of people back in the day who wasn't accurately documenting the black history. You know what I'm saying? You go to people who their family has been separated so much that it only goes so far, and that's all the records they have. So it's like, I feel that, I feel that with history, as far as our culture goes and blacks go, with slavery, it jumbled a lot of things up, and it caused us to lose a lot of faith in the history area. It caused us to lose our faith, lose a lot of knowledge, and it kind of discouraged us for a moment. So yeah, we got the technology now, but you also have all the years of laws being enacted, all the years of discouragement, all the years of discrimination, and all those generational memories being passed down on top of all of that, if that makes sense.
No, I definitely I get what you're saying.
So it's like, yo, why? You know what I mean? I kind of see where it is now. But on the flip side, like you said, we had the opportunity to look about history, but I understand too why some people don't choose not to.
I mean, I get it. And then like today, for example, let's just say Simon Says. If Simon says that back during the census, Simon says you were black. Then again, the formula. See, one thing about the formula, man, I always talk about the formula, man, but when you see something works, bro, are you going to deviate from what you see working?
Nah, you're going to keep going like it is.
If you see where it's now a call that people want to know who they are, right? Then you start to provide certain avenues to provide the people with they so-called what they feel they want, right? But again, if back in the let's just say in the early 1900s, whatever, man, you were telling the people who they were then. Like today, you flip it. How can we still tell the people who they are? But allow them to believe they have the power, or feel like the power is still in their hands. Like, to be honest with you, to keep it a buck. This is just me.
Yeah,
I do not trust like those I don't trust those tests and stuff like that. I don't. Man, I read up, man, where it was one situation in which, man, somebody did a test, on the genealogy test or whatever, and what they wound up doing is they took their dog and let their dog DNA, rest on it, and they sent it, and they started telling the dog, like reading to the dog like the dog was human. I'm like, oh, you have this, that, and the other. We talking about a dog, man. So it's just like, it's just me personally, man.
Nah, I understand.
It's just like, man, it's ways to go about doing it the right way, to find out the answers that you see. It's one brother, man, and I'm going to give this brother a shout out right now. It's one brother that I do follow, and, he's doing amazing things, man. The brother's name is Dan Calloway. Like, just like, you need to peep his material, man. Like, seriously. The man is official with it. And he doesn't just tell you stuff. This man tells you how to go about researching it and how to get the answers that you see, I
gotta check him out.
Yeah. And it's like, man, that's for another time. But I want to go and I want to ask you another question, brother. Like, what's a fear? Or we don't even have to stop at a fear. If you don't mind telling some of the listeners or watchers, man, like, that's not accustomed to the so-called black experience. What is the black experience first and foremost? What would you say it is? Man,
the black experience, man. That's a deep question, to be honest. I would say that it's fun at times, it's scary at times, it's empowering. At times it could be discouraging. It's a mixture of all those things. And I think it's just like, that's why I would go with. Like, it's a mixture of all those.
Okay, so let's start with fun.
Yeah. I would say fun because it's like trendsetters. You look at the trends that's being set. You look at the music being made, the dances, the cultural influence of things that we do. And it's like, whoa, man, like, yo, that's dope. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and you think to yourself, it's like, man, and that's when you like, yo, honestly, all of the negativity that we got a lot of time, man, that came from us. That's something so beautiful. And it's like, man, like the dances, just the rhythm, forms, just man. Watch, the expression. That's what it is.
100%.
And one thing about us, man, we've always been, we've always done well with wearing our expression. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of times people tell you, bro, you have no poker face. And that was because a lot of time it wasn't intended to be a poker face.
100%.
Like, I want you to feel what I feel right now. Like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy, you know. And it's just like, man, they got a saying, man. They say hell has no fury like a woman scorned. And you meet that woman that's scorned, it's like, you know
like, 100%.
Boy, hey,
you feel every inch of that rap.
The hairs on the back of your neck on fire because she on fire.
100%.
But it's like, man, you're right. Now let's talk about. You said something else, man. You said it's fun at times.
Yeah, it's discouraging at times.
Let's talk about that.
Just because of the fact of the injustices that you see, you know what I'm saying? But and you think like, yo, we in this day and age, the most technological advanced age, and we still have things happening because of skin color or because of ethnicity or your nationality, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of discouraging. And that's not the most powerful form, or I would say that's not what you should focus on and allow that to discourage you. But at times you can't deny the fact that when you hear things like that or see things that are done to black people just because of, or it might not be blatant that is just because they're black, but you know for a fact that this injustice doesn't happen anywhere else or to any other people as much as it does to black people.
You know, I wanna add something on that, if I may. Discouraging. One of the things that makes it discouraging is the fact of understanding. For a lot of us, we understand this. Things aren't fair. If we're gonna be brutally honest right now, things aren't fair. It's almost like if you playing a basketball game, you already understand that, okay, although we're gonna fake the funk and we're gonna jump ball just like how we would in a normal game, but in all honesty, on the scoreboard they already have 12 points.
Yeah,
it's like you fighting out of a hole. It's almost like you face with this obstacle to have to program your mind to believe I have to be perfect in order to make it. I can't make the mistake. When my mother told me when I was a little, man, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that, you know, their parent has warned them about this or told them this. But she told me, she was like, son, you were born with 2 strikes. Listen to what I just said. My mother told me, she said, son, you was born with 2 strikes. Number 1, this is what she said verbatim. You black and you a male. Mm-hmm. In America, you born with 2 strikes. So you think about that for a second. Think about that. One of the things that's never been a good look, we get in trouble, catch a charge, whatever the charge may be, if you got drugs, whatever, you know. Over here on the right, Lil Johnny, he did the same exact thing you did. Matter of fact, you and Lil Johnny were together. Y'all got caught together. Lil Johnny got a slap on the wrist. Not you. You got a death kiss. It's like
100%.
The thing about it though, it's like, and all that did for you, if that was your first, all it's doing is it's already starting your record. A record in which they state, depending on how young you are, now you're gonna be a familiar name in the system that's gonna keep popping up. That's what statistics state. Lil Johnny, however, might, you know, he might get off, depending on what he was doing, whatever, you know. A lot of times, you know, they'll find help, you know. He'll rehab. A lot of times, you're not granted that opportunity. That's often the thing that's missing. And that's a resource for a lot of people. Opportunity. You know, discouraging. Understanding that you face with these challenges, these sets of unique challenges, but you got to learn how to maneuver through that. You know, sometimes you have to learn how to, for a lot of people, the worst thing for a lot of people is trying to negotiate. Understanding already, you see what's going on. You see it for what it is. I gotta still try to, you know, I still have to try to negotiate here. Now here it is, you've developed something that's extraordinary. Now all of a sudden you see where it's getting ready to it's getting ready to be taken from you. So now you already thinking to myself, I can't win this war. But I, at least right now, the last thing I could do is try to negotiate my way. Listen, all right, at least give me 10%. Now here it is, you created that. Now you asking for 10%.
I feel you on that. Like,
but I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, bro.
But that again, now that situation, the one thing that could be lacking in that situation is the education. That's why oftentimes education is truly important.
Exactly.
It's truly important because from that, you understand. When you understand that law, now one thing about it, you understand that law and how the law works, you become
100%.
You become an asset.
100%, bro. And I think that's what like if you already know, like you said, that's a strong sentiment too. Like you already got two strikes against you. I feel like educating yourself on your surroundings, your area, knowing, you know what I'm saying, just the way of the land sometimes is you can use that to your advantage. And I think that's something that we just have to tap into. Whether we're given that or whether we have to work a little harder to get it, we still have to tap into the opportunity that we're given of education. You know
that's fact, man. That's factual. So with that being said, man,
what's up?
I want to ask you a question, like another one, man. Fear.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about one of the things that you fear while being black.
I feel like somebody challenging me because I'm black and I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a black man. Like I fear somebody challenging me that. And I'm not gonna lie, like I don't feel like all cops are bad. I feel like it's a few cops that give cops a bad name. But at the end of the day, it's still cops out there that may not like me just because I'm black. And they may, whatever the case may be, their upbringing, what they were taught as children. And they could carry that on into that career path. And I fear that, and not just cops, any man, any person that has a stigma about me just because I'm black and I'm a man, they don't get to know the person behind the skin color, because I feel like growing up, I wasn't taught to hate, you know what I'm saying? I was taught what was done in my history, you know what I'm saying? And that education side of it. But at the end of the day, I feel like going past that and getting to know somebody and not basing not basing them based off their skin color always took me farther and always take anybody farther than those biases will. But that's my fear, man. It's just like somebody challenging me because of that, because I know that because they were taught and they was given misinformation, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's your fear.
Yeah. What's yours?
That's your personal fear, right?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay. So that's your personal fear for you, right? So one thing I want to ask you is, okay, let's flip it now.
What's up?
Because see, now you're a father. So you have a young daughter now. Mm-hmm. Your daughter is of age. I mean, let's just say your daughter is of age. Let's say she's a teenager. One thing about teenagers love to have fun. They want to be out the nest a little more. They want to be out, with their friends, That's how they stress it, man. Not friends. But yeah, so what's your fear now, being that you're a father of a teenager?
I don't want her to get caught up with something, you know what I'm saying? Because, you young, you inexperienced, and sometimes naive fun can get you caught up in a lot of situations. And like you said, it's some people that are privy to, just because of their skin color, they may get off on lesser charges than versus somebody with a darker complexion. And even if they did the same action, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of my fear too, just making sure she chooses her friends wisely, making sure she educated on the right and wrong things to do, and understanding not everybody is going to accept her like she accepts everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, I don't want her to become discouraged about making friends either, or let hate seep in. Exactly, because when you talk those things and you learn that history at such a young age, then you can become jaded. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's not the goal. The goal is to understand where you came from, and then those hurdles that you overcame despite of the laws that was in place and things like that. I think that's where the empowerment comes from.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna attempt to answer the question that you asked. I didn't forget about it. So, me, a fear. What's a fear that? Well, number one, when I was a teenager, it's crazy because it's like certain fears have changed over the years, or certain things that prompt worry, so to speak. They've changed over the years. So when I was little, man, I was in middle school. I was shown this tape. Well, the class was showing the tape, and in this tape, that was my first introduction of Emmett Till. They told a story of what happened, man, and you saw that it had involved. I don't know, man. Like I went home and I was messed up to the point to I went home, and by that time I had earned a little responsibility from my parents. I was home by myself, and I remember I couldn't even look in the mirror, man, because it's like I sat there, and if I looked in the mirror, the image of what I saw on that tape of that little boy, what they did to that little boy, it messed me up. It messed me up. So that was the early introduction of fear, knowing that there were people in this world that could get away with doing that. And then, in elementary school, I had a crush on a Caucasian girl, and that was like my first time. Like that was honestly my first time being turned down, and I found out why. And it was your skin tone. I didn't understand that at the time. I wasn't raised to hate anybody, But yeah, I went to a predominantly white school, so it's like all of that tied together. It was discouraging in elementary school. Fast forward to middle school, it became fear of certain things, being in situations, man, and just it helped me to always, the function and maneuver a little more safer. It's like I like certain things, man. I'm like, nah, get pulled over. Then, like when I became a teenager, a little later, like my later stages of being a teenager, I got pulled over. And then when I got pulled over, immediately, I'm sitting there in my mind. I'm sitting there thinking all of the things you better not do. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm sitting there saying, keep your hands where he can see them. Don't reach for nothing. Communicate with him. All of this stuff. So I remember, when that situation went down, I went and I talked to my best friend, and I spoke to him about it. And the craziest part about it, like, we were coming from a game one night, and this was his first time getting pulled over. And I'm watching him, and I'm looking at the officer. He's shining the light. It was darker. He's shining the light inside of the vehicle, talking to us. Well, talking to him. And, I'm looking at my boy. My boy is shaking. He's shaking. And I'm sitting up there. I'm like, I say, you all right? You all right? Shaking. Blue, all you see, man. I don't know what it is, man. It's eerie. It's like, man, colors were supposed to be vibrant to the world, but in certain situations, bro, they become horrific. Yeah. On a dark night, man, a set of blue lights, man, and then, you see that, man, and the blue light start piercing through, it's piercing through the darkness that's in your car. It's like, man, you sitting around and
the reflection of it and stuff like
man,
that.
It's eerie.
I feel you.
But that, that was the next situation. And then getting pulled over again, man. I got pulled over. This was when I was in my mid-20s. I got pulled over, and I had my baby boy in the back seat. No, excuse me, it was my daughter. It was my daughter she was a baby. She was in the back seat, man. By that time, getting pulled over, I was accustomed to it. I already know, again, keep your hands with it. You can see if you do need to get your wallet, you communicate with them. Yeah. So, I wasn't bothered by that. But then I started seeing, like, it wasn't just that cop. By that time, like, I started noticing a difference within the decades. Then by this time, man, it was 3 cop cars came up behind me. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, man, why take 3 cop cars? And then the cop cars, it's like you had 2 officers in, each car. I'm sitting up there, I'm like, man, I pray to God nothing go down. You know what I'm saying? If it does go down, like, man, I'm by myself. I at that time I wasn't programmed to have my phone on or just like let somebody hit me or hear the situation that's occurring. Now if I do, I let my wife know, look, I'm getting pulled over, like, look, you on the phone, just listen to, But it's just like, man, all of these things you have to go through is like, or you hear that, you lost, boy. Bro, like, them words, those words depending on where you at. You on a dark road, you lost, boy.
But I can imagine being back there when they, you know what I'm saying? You already know what's about to go down.
You talking about back then. I'm talking about still going on today. Today, it's like, man, this stuff is real. It's like these are the different fears, man, that, it's still ingrained within the history that we're still living in today.
Now, I would say that, like you said, when you was younger, learning that in school, elementary school, middle school, it's messed up because you realize the depth and the brutality that was going on, and the laws that was in place and the systematic oppression that was put in place, right? So then, as you grow up, it makes you question. It brings up the question of, like, is this still going on? You know what I'm saying? Is this still happening? And I look at it as, or I use the analogy of like a firefighter, right? Firefighter nowadays has so much gear on, it's much harder to get burned or get scored by the fire, but it's still the possibility of getting scored by the fire. And I think that's how it is as the progression goes on with race. Like, yeah, we are farther than we were back in the 60s to 50s, slavery times, right? But at the same time, racism is still prevalent, and it's still, it may not be up front like it is, but it's still there. And I think you have to always be mindful of that. You have to be mindful of that. That makes sense. It does make sense. I want to say something on that analogy that you just gave, like firefighters, right? Yeah. But I can come back and I can provide a rebuttal. I could say it's no different than, like, for example, man, you got different drugs out here now. And the drug's sole purpose is to, make sure that certain sicknesses, diseases, infections, whatever, don't occur. But then you got individuals out there now that's become more riskier, and they become more willing to take a risk because they're like, so, they start looking at it. It's almost like this. It's almost like sometimes providing a means of immortality to some in their mind. They're thinking, okay, well, so what? I mean, if I go out there and I get this or that, I mean, I can always go and, take this, or I'm taking this already because it prevents this. So why should I mask up, or why should I protect myself, or whatever? Yeah. It's like now it's, it induces thoughts of, recklessness to a degree. So it's like it's a double-edged sword, man. It's like almost pick your poison, because even if you're taking a medication, a lot of people don't read all of these medications. A lot of these medications may not even agree with your biology, but you steady throwing it down because now you thinking you only live once, So it's like, I just wanted to provide that because I have different thoughts on that. Saying, like, you mean like as far as what? Like, so like with the firefighter analogy, like
you were saying that, okay, so you started talking about technology and how, oftentimes with the technology nowadays, it helps, like even with the, the protective layers that they put on and so stuff like that. I
was saying, like, firefighters now that are less prone to get burned, but there's still a possibility of getting burned or getting hurt, seriously hurt by the fire. So it's like people may look at racism like that. You know what I'm saying? But what were you saying with the medicine?
Now with me, I was saying now so the collective, for a lot of people, they think to themselves, okay, let's just talk about the fire being whatever sexually transmitted diseases. Fire could be, COVID, whatever. A lot of people say, so what? I already took my shot. I don't have to mask. I remember exactly when, people were free to do whatever they wanted to do. Then all of a sudden, but I didn't, I've been shot 3 times, so I'm protected. That's what people started saying. I'm already protected. So a lot of the protective, measures weren't even taking those anymore, because they felt they put all their onus on the medication.
Yeah.
The same applies for, like, I saw a commercial, man. Like, people sit around nowadays, like, they can take a pill or something like that, and then from them taking the pill, they don't have to worry about contracting HIV or something like that. Like, now people are like, okay, if I could take the pill and I don't have to worry about that, what you think people gonna do then? What do you think people gonna do with that type of freedom?
I feel you on that. So you saying like you saying just in general, as far as like, in general. Oh, okay, gotcha,
just talking about in general. Yeah,
understood.
Because when you said that, it just made me think about it.
That is a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
though. You know what I'm saying? You have people that's like, yo, I take it head on now.
Exactly.
But it's like, hey, bro, you still, you know what I'm saying?
And
which I understand that.
Yeah, and even for all they know, so you don't catch a disease or you don't whatever. But then now your body breaking down because of the medication. It's just like,
I can understand
you just
that.
got to do your research.
Nah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, but now trauma.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what do you think about the traumas? Like, I'm still trying to keep it on the black, the black experience. Yeah. Talk to me right now, man. Kind of enlighten the world that may have a legit question on, like, what are the traumas that do exist, or the traumatic tipping points that have happened, man, in which a lot of people have to, endure or have, endured over the years.
Like I lost history, the fear of death or intimate bodily harm or just harm in general, lack of resources, things of that nature, to where it's like lack. You know what I'm saying? A lot of lack or a lot of injustice. And I feel like sometimes that could be prevalent in people's minds, and they take that anger outward, or they take that discouragement out. That discouragement and then those feelings and those emotions turn into anger, and they express that outward, and that's where that trauma, I think, manifests outward, because the trauma on the inside manifests outward into anger. I feel like into devious acts or into not so beneficial acts.
I like that, man. That's deep, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. All right. So, what do you feel about the misconceptions of being black? The misconceptions that exist.
Oh yeah. So this is like something that that's an interesting question, man. I really like that, because it's like, okay, misconceptions of black, like it's both sides to it, because you have the notion of like, yo, we're not all ignorant, we're not all thugs and gangsters, we're not all stupid or uneducated.
We're competent.
You feel me? We're not less than secondhand citizens, none of that. And then you have on a misconception of like, we're not all educated, we're not all rule following citizens, we're not all putting our best foot forward. You feel me? And those are the push and pulls, because it's like, for me myself, and I think this was like the question I wanted to get to, is like, as a black person, right, I understand why people push the rhetoric of black empowerment, their black history, the black injustices and things of that nature. I just don't know the effects to that, or the approaches, if they're all correct. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like we experience injustices, we experience those things that happened back in the history, but we also advance too. You know what I'm saying? And we have on the flip side people that say, yeah, we advance, but we still experience injustices. I don't know if that makes sense. You might be able to word it better than I can, but I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. It definitely does. If
I went on a tangent, did I answer the question?
Nah, you answered it, man. Like, yeah.
You feel me?
You did a good job, man. Yeah. So, all right, I'm asking a lot of questions, man. You got any questions for me, man?
No. I feel like, you know, you said the misconceptions of being black, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something like a push and pull thing amongst, I don't know if it's amongst black people, amongst people in general, but it's like, you know, like I said, the approach, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand people's plight because I want to voice my thing on too. Like, yo, man, if I see an injustice and, or if I see, you know, something that I feel like is wrong, I will speak up on it. But I feel like it's the approach also. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where the rhetoric kind of gets lost because certain people have approaches that may be more aggressive, that may be more dangerous, may be more proactive, may be more reactive. And you have to be careful with that because the message is to end the injustice. You know what I'm saying? But if your approach is off, then that's going to get lost. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And for instance, like let me make sure I'm getting it right. Why talk about the ignorant? Because why we talk about the ignorant black people, the ignorance that black people do, because we and not always talk about the good. And I feel like for me, it's like we have to talk about the ignorance that we do so we can fix it. We can shine light on it so it could get better and we can recognize it and make corrections. And then you had to hold on. We had a flip side to where why we always talking about the good. You know what I'm saying? Why we always talking about the great black people. And it's like because we have that side that's making more positive changes and more positive steps, putting that more positive foot forward. And that could be the example that we could build off of to continue to propel us forward. You know what I'm saying?
I like that, man.
So that's my push and pull because I understand both sides.
So it's stated. Now, it's stated. This part I don't have, accurate statistics to back this, but it's stated. Yeah. That's all I can do is just say what's stated or what's been said to me. It's been said to me that it's more Caucasian people on this earth than us. Have you heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if that's the case, a lot of times when you turn on the news, you watch, whatever on TV, and you see negativity happen. A lot of times, what does that color of negativity normally look like?
It's mixed. I feel like it's mixed.
It's mixed.
Yeah.
The majority. Okay. So. Okay. Cool. We'll go with what you said. It's mixed. Okay. When something dominates a headline, oftentimes.
Yeah.
Negatively, what does it look like?
I can't say it either. I can't say either way. Which it would be because I see where you're going at. But
where am I going at?
Like blacks negative headlines versus if something was done opposite race. Like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know because the way I feel is like I said, I understand both sides, but at the same time, I know black people commit crimes too. So it's like,
I mean, yeah, same goes for any other race.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm black and it's like, man, they always showing black people, because that's the first thing I notice. Like when I walk in a room, the first thing I notice is black people.
But you just said something though.
What's up?
Now I want you to hear what you said now, because you just read something. You said, okay, you begin to start talking about, okay, when you start talking about the great black people, it's only a few. That's notified.
It's super massive.
Go back over what you said.
I said, why we always talk about the good blacks people? Because we want to focus on that to move forward and continue to move forward into a positive.
Go to the beginning of what you said.
I said, why we people may ask, because this is the two conversations that go on. People may ask why we always talking about the ignorance, and that's because we're trying to shine light on that to make changes or to correct that so we can move into a positive direction.
Okay, I'm gonna pause that.
What's up?
So that's your belief, right?
Yeah.
Why people always focused on the ignorance or talking about it, right? I tend to believe differently.
Well, I don't think that's the sole thing. I'm saying like
okay, maybe we on two different pages. I'm talking about like the news outlets.
Yeah.
And brother, I'm gonna ask you this here.
What's up?
Do you watch a lot of news?
Not lately, but I do. I've heard the conversation of like they always highlighting black people in crime, or they showing the worst mug shots of black people, or they, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, they always have the headlines like criminal felon commits blah blah blah. But if it may be another nationality or another race or white person, it's like principal of school commits so and so crime, and it's like very like, you know what I'm saying, structured.
It's not very detailed.
But at the same time, I don't know that to be fact, because I'm thinking like, what if Buddy was a criminal? What if Buddy was a felon? You know what I'm saying? They not lying. They telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, though, Buddy could have been a felon early on in his life and changed his life. Okay. You know what I'm saying? They only focus on that. I don't look that deep into the story to figure out.
So cool. So what we gonna do? Because this is what we doing here. We have situations in which we might not agree on everything. It's easy. You don't have to take our word for it, but you can always do your own research. And in the meantime, we're going to do our research as well.
Facts.
And this is one of them situations where statistically we'll see. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to check that out. Because what I do know, and what I can drop on you is, I know this to be factual. Between Nixon and Reagan, those two eras right there, it was in the tabloids. It was dominated. Super predators. And super predators look like you and I. Now, because of that, it was it was a lot of people that did a lot of jail time.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah,
and that was like, well, I don't know if that was during the Nixon and Reagan thing. Was that during the crack epidemic too?
That's exactly when it happened. Yeah.
Now they were saying like the whole discrepancy between the weights of cocaine versus crack.
Exactly.
Which is, they the same thing.
It's the same exact thing. But on top of that, though, if it's the same exact thing, why wasn't it treated like the same exact? Again, certain people have resources in which 100%. Slap on the wrist, get rehab. Other people, life thrown away. So what happens when that one particular life is thrown away? Certain people look at it that have that's just. Certain people look at that and say, well, it's one life.
Yeah.
But that one life affects a family. That if that one life was a man that had a child, now it affects that whole household.
Now I would say this, bro. Like walking downtown, right? You know where the park, that big park. We don't have to say the name, but like the big park downtown, the nice one.
Well,
I didn't know if it was like, you know what I'm saying?
Square?
No. I'm talking about Forsyth. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So in Forsyth, right? Walking through there to go to class, right? That's a beautiful area, man. Like even just walking through there, I would that would brighten my mood. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you growing up in a maybe not a neighborhood that doesn't have that. Those types of things like may play a part on that, right? So it's like I can
play a part in what?
Play a part into how somebody turns out. Like for instance, like you walking in a neighborhood that has litter. You know what I'm saying? All over the streets.
I see what you're saying.
You feel me?
If that particular park has needles and stuff in the,
you know what I'm saying? You got people you got drug addicts hanging around, stuff like that. I could see how that could affect somebody's upbringing thing versus going to Forsyth. You walk into class, it's beautiful, people out on the thing, sunbathing, it's like nice, manicured, and it makes you feel good. It gives you that good feeling. Not saying you can't still get into things, but at the same time, it'll be a lot harder to stick. Like I feel like it'd be a lot harder to get into things
the
like that there.
Outreach, so it's almost like, it all looks obtainable at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like you said, it all looks attainable. So I can understand from my, like the black experience, like you said, why certain people take certain paths. What my discrepancy is other options out there. Now, how close those options are different because you have certain black people do the same thing. Certain black people have better opportunities than others. Some don't. Some people come from the same neighborhood and they become great. They don't revert back to their neighborhood or an environment they are.
But with that also, if I may, also, it's different factors that go into that as well. Like, it's not just people being in the same neighborhood and then all of a sudden they make it out. It's factors that go. It's like it's like if you look at your arm, man, you look at your arm and then you see these multiple veins.
Mm-hmm.
And so the multiple veins, it's like branches, they branch out. So what happens is opportunity may come from one of those streams that lead outward.
Facts.
So they could have messed around and had to do time after school, for detention. And in doing so, they mess around and actually found somebody that actually cared about them and said, you know what, I ain't gonna give up on you. And this person would determine not to give up on them. So follow them. Some people, it turned out it's the certain talents, it's their God-given talents and gifts that's their way out. It's like, man, people come in now all of a sudden, they like, and to keep it a buck, man, a lot of times, man, it's selfish reasons in which they get out. The selfish reason is the other person looking at the talent this person has and say, you know what, I need that on my team. So it's selfish reasons. But God will use that selfish reason from the other person to actually pull them out of that environment. And they capitalize on it and say, you know what, I actually belong here. Or this is what better looks like. I want my mother to experience better, so 100%. They help bring the family out. It's a lot of times, but now that's one side of the coin. But on the other side of the coin, when opportunity's not given, and the resources aren't there, then what happens?
But you see that, you know what I'm saying? And I don't come from the streets, you know what I'm saying? That's just a disclaimer, so I can never put myself in that mindset. But from my perspective, I'm like, bro, if I'm a drug dealer, or if I grow up in an environment, I'm even going to put a stamp on it. If I grow up in an environment where that's happening, my mindset is, how do I get out, right? But at the same time, I can understand how that could be influential. But if you're seeing people get locked up, if you're seeing people end up dead, it's crazy though, because you said you have people in your lives that come in your lives, right? For me, I could have went down the same path because I was doing crazy stuff too. But I did have people in my lives that looked out, that actually are examples to look after. Now, I can't speak for nobody and say nobody ever has examples in their lives. But I do feel like you get some opportunities in your life. There's no way that you could have no opportunities in life.
No, facts.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel like everybody, this is my opinion, but I do feel like everybody at some point in their life, when they're able to make a rational decision, somebody, God will use somebody to come into your life, say something to you to try to, get you on a straight and narrow, so to speak. Now, again, ultimately, what happens is sometimes it's the point in which that person comes into their life. If that person tends to come into a teenager's life after the teenager already then started dealing drugs and making money and seeing what fast money look like, oftentimes they're like, man, I can't listen to you, man. I got money rolling in here, man. I'm making more money than you, and you talking to me. So how you have nothing to say to me right now?
I can see that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, now flip it, and let's just say that one person mess around and God forbid the person now got to do time. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, that brother that spoke to that young brother a long time ago, let's just say now he's, let's just say his mission now, in church, he's going to see people that's incarcerated. Now all of a sudden they build up a mutual rapport. Now he's willing to listen.
Gotcha.
Because now, you see what I'm saying? But I do, it's timing is everything a lot of times, because I hate to say it, it's like, man, arrogance finds a way a lot of times when you see immediate success or instant success. Yeah. Now all of a sudden 100%. You can't tell them nothing, because how you gonna coach somebody that's never been beaten before?
But I think that's why they call it the trap. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
all a trap.
That's the trap.
It's all a trap.
And that's where I draw the line at, because I feel like, I think that's where it gets lost for me, is because you have opportunities now in 2023 to be better. YouTube, you ain't even got to go to college no more. YouTube, people making money just learning how to trade on that. People making money off of this app called Toro, where they rent out their cars. You feel me? So it's like, that's where I draw the line, because there's so many opportunities out here. But I see how people could pick the examples out of the negative side, the ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And they look at all the ignorance that's here, and I can't deny that, because it is ignorance here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like drawing the line between is it ignorance that's making it bad and we're blaming racism, or is it racism that's causing the ignorance? You know what I'm saying?
You know, racism, ignorance, sometimes even colorism, you know, because we do it to ourselves too now. We do it to ourselves. But it all, okay, so it all just, the root to it all it's the education, man. I go back to the education because it's like, you know, it's often stated, when you know better, you do better.
100%.
You know? But oftentimes too, what happens is even when you know better, you do better. You're supposed to function as such, but oftentimes, now with that being said, all of these, you talking about 2023.
Yeah.
You got to realize too, the generation we living in is instant. Everything is instant gratification, and if we can't reach instant, then hey, you know, yeah, I'm making money, man, but how I can make more money? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's everything. We, you know, like the young ones want everything fast, and that's the thing, man. Sometimes it's better to go slow, understanding, so that you can have something that lasts rather than be fast.
100%. And I'm with that, man. You know what I'm saying?
To be fast and finish last.
Be fast and finish last. 100%, bro. Nah, man. I think now I would say, like, also too, like, you know, this ain't no hate podcast or anything like that. We're just speaking facts, speaking our opinions. I do not, like, you know, there's always, I don't discredit it. There's people out there that want us to do bad, that want us to be down as black people, or just feel like how they feel towards us. But I also would like to look inward first versus, you know what I'm saying, to spell it out. That's my personal viewpoint on myself too. So I kind of like project that on black people because I'm black, if that makes sense.
Nah,
you know what I'm saying?
Honestly, a lot of times, in a lot of cases, you can only speak on what you've endured or what you've seen or what you've experienced.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, and that's simply what we're trying to speak on right now. Is, you know, a lot of things that's affected us, even if it's been through the public eye, through hearsay, or through experience, personal experience. You know, having it's just a lot that goes into it. Now, even with that being said, again, you know, I would like to say this as well. Now, with all of that being said, it's, you know, we still got, you know, in this month of February, excuse me, it's a lot that we have that we still fighting for, you know. In Black History Month, we still fighting for a lot. I mean, it's no secret. But we've come to a point in which it is better than what it's been before. But we're not going to sit there and sugarcoat this like, you know, like we've reached perfection. We've reached the peak. That's
100%.
not what it is. And sometimes you got to pull the sheet over, you know, you got to pull that sheet over the ghost. And then you see what you have.
100%.
You know, you see it for what it is. But with that being said, also, not all Caucasian people are bad, and not all Caucasian people,
definitely,
you know, want to see us down. You know, and every great movement that's ever happened throughout time and throughout history, you know, Caucasian people have played a part somehow, and it takes unity. You know, to make things better, to make it what it, you know, to make it what it really should be. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Facts, man. And I'll add something too. Like, I think that's why it's important to get context on what people are saying, because I think that's a misconception too. That people think just because we talk about the injustices of blacks or what's going on with blacks and all this stuff, that we hate white people or that's what we pushing. It's like, nah, bro, you got to get the context of who's speaking it, what they're speaking about to understand what it is. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, E, but I think what we're saying is just we're acknowledging what has happened and then trying to figure out how can we move forward from that. You know what I'm saying? And what's going on in the mix of that to clear out the mess so that we can create a path for progression. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So, yeah,
so
man.
it's like, I'll say this one thing, about our history, man. And, it's just like, sometimes being a person of color is like, it's like you forced to see this proverbial corkscrew. And it's like, with this corkscrew, it's like on one side you see the natural progression. You see those that's prosperous. And then on the other side, it shows you the harsh realities that still present themselves.
1,000%.
And you can often see the same root cause of some of those same issues way back when. Yep. But they still evident today. So that's all we saying is, sometimes you got to be, you got to be able to sympathize and empathize with, your fellow neighbor, even if that neighbor may look a little different, even if they may dress a little different, speak a little different, whatever.
100%.
But one thing about us, we have to really just learn to just love one another for who they are, and just, honestly ask questions if you don't know. Don't assume, just ask questions. That's the best way to go, because from that understanding that you gain from, that person expressing how they feel or whatever, that right there may be the thing that can change your life, that can help out in your life. On that note, brother.
Yeah, man. I think we'll end it on that, man.
Yes, sir.
You guys like what you heard? Leave us a comment, leave us a share. Appreciate the views, and see you guys next Thursday, man. Peace.
Real talk.
We appreciate you giving us a listen. If you like this episode and would like to engage with us or support, reach out through our social media platforms, linked in the description, and tune in every Thursday to check out new episodes. See you next week.